It's happened again. Another school shooting, this time in Georgia, where there were 2 teachers and 2 students that were killed while 9 others were injured. Here's how it all started. It all happened back in September 4th of this year. A mass shooting occurred up at Appalachian High School near Winter, Georgia. 2 students, 2 teachers were killed while the 9 others were injured. The suspect is a 14-year-old by the name of Colt Gray. He was taken into custody and charged with 4 counts of felony murder. 4 counts. But now, and we've been following this case ever before the season premiere, before we even got started. So tonight, we're going to give you the very latest before we went on the air. Let's start. We all know about the suspect. But this is if you look at this case, it is very similar to Oxford. If you're not familiar with the Oxford case happened to where 2 parents were charged for involuntary manslaughter. Now both parents are being charged with involuntary manslaughter. And now, for the very first time, we're seeing body cam footage of what happened, of a deputy sheriff interviewing the father in 2023. This has never been seen before. This was a year before that horrific school shooting right there in Georgia. And no one even noticed it. So, let's take a look.
Step out where you can talk real quick.
Register to a
You got sound or something that uses, what Discord is? So we got a tip from the FBI saying that somebody from your old address over there in Traditions had made a threat to shoot up a school.
For real?
Yes, sir. And your name was associated with that address.
So what? Tell me what.
You have any kids or anything living
Yeah,
here?
Colt, right?
Colt?
Yeah, Colt. He's my older son.
How old is he?
He's 13.
Play a lot of video games and stuff?
Yeah, he does. Right all the time.
Is he here right now?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, do you have weapons in the house?
I do.
Are they accessible to him?
They are. I mean, there's nothing loaded, but they are there. We do a lot of shooting. We do a lot of deer hunting. He shot his first deer this year. So like I'm pretty much in shock, to be honest with you.
Well,
I'm a little pissed off to be even really honest with you. I don't know anything about him saying any shit like that. I'm gonna be mad as hell if he did. And then all the guns will go away. And they won't be accessible to him. I'm trying to be honest with you, I'm trying to teach him about firearms and safety and how to do it all and get him interested in the outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
Like on my phone.
You can get him away from those video games.
Exactly right. That's the God honest truth. And the picture on my phone is him with blood on his cheeks from shooting his first deer. It was just the greatest day ever. So he knows the seriousness of weapons and what they can do and how to use them and not use them. Wherever this has come from, it's no joke. Like, it's no joke.
Well, we wouldn't be here if it was.
No, I know. And I'm telling you right now, we talk about it quite a bit. All the school shootings, things that happen.
Yeah,
All
scary.
You getting picked on at school? He is. He's getting picked on at school, and is everything okay? That's why I keep going up there. These are good dudes. Just
Hey, Colt, what's going on, bud? So did Dad kind of explain everything to you?
said something about shooting up the school.
Did you say something about school shooting?
Or just told him, I don't know, maybe they misheard somebody else. I've never said anything.
You never ever said.
No, I swear.
Do you use Discord?
Discord?
Yes, sir.
I used to.
When's the last time you used it?
Not that far, please.
I mean, I'm not trying to get anybody pinned up, but like, this is some serious stuff.
Yeah, I know. Oh, he knows how serious it is, trust me.
I'd hate to, my boss was even like, I don't know how old this information is, and you can wait till Monday to follow up. something happen and I didn't do my job, I'd feel pretty bad about this. So I just want to make sure you understand that if something like that happens or you hear something like that, tell their dad, tell teachers.
Like I told him, I promise I won't ever say something.
So you haven't used Discord in a few months, and you're saying you didn't say anything like that.
No, the only thing I have is TikTok, but I just go around here once in a while.
I gotta take you at your word, and I hope you're being honest with me. I'm not saying you're lying, but it's
Seriously.
it's not unusual for people to lie with
He's from
this. Maybe it was something he heard or did on Discord months ago. I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay.
But he's telling me he didn't. Telling me he can't remember anything like that. I take you at your word. Okay. If you look me in the eye and you tell me that's what you're telling me, I got no choice but take you at your word right now. Okay. But like I was telling your dad, we find out otherwise, then it's a different story. Okay.
It's a really different story. Okay.
So that was the body cam footage. Later in the broadcast, we'll give you the very latest. We'll give you the very latest on that school shooting a bit later in the broadcast. But first, if you're tired of work, this is the broadcast for you. From workplace insecurity to anger management issues to even working for a boss hole, tonight we have workplace stories that even you might even rip the hairs out of your. They might have you ripping the hair out of your head. When we come back, it's Workplace Confidential. Stay with us. This year's presidential election may be all about jobs in the economy. You know, how hard it is to find a job and how hard it is to actually keep one. With workplace insecurity happening, it's no wonder why all these employees, which we're about to see on the internet, are all melting down, acting up, and freaking out. Has that ever happened to you? Well, you're about to see some videos, some examples about workers melting down in the office or even at fast food restaurants, or maybe even in your school. Here's Elizabeth Vargas.
What's new in the world of 9 to 5 will make you want to call 911. YouTube makes it look like the American workforce is on the edge of a nervous breakdown. Workers of the world rising up against infuriating workplace oppression, the tyranny of bulky computers, paperless printers, and annoying co-workers.
I think there's a lot of rage.
Now, many of these videos are fake. Some are clever viral marketing campaigns. This is really an ad for office chairs. But all these online videos tap into something real, something buried deep in the psyche of the modern worker. Let's call it cubicle rage. Organizational psychologist Ben Datner says white collar, blue collar, everyone's hot under the collar. What is it all about?
The rewards of economic gains have gone, as we all know, to fewer rather than more people in society in general. And when people perceive inequity, they're likely to feel angry and they're likely to want to take retributive steps.
He means revenge. And you've been on the receiving end of that if you've ever walked into the middle of an office worker's bad day. And it can be even worse for those who have to deal with the public, especially in the pressure cooker of fast food. This fried chicken restaurant worker is a hit online. But the most appalling example comes from Iowa. A pizza delivery turns ugly when the customer fails to tip the driver. He comes back and turns her front door into a urinal.
These are people who have to say, "Have a nice day," every single time they deal with one of us.
I mean, a lot of people in those customer-facing roles have to be actors and actresses, and that can be very onerous, burdensome, and problematic for certain people who, when pushed to a certain point, can really break.
How was your day?
Dave Heiner worked in a well-known video game chain store in New York. A coworker captured his state of mind the day after Christmas 2009.
You know, my anger was frustration was building through the day. I was trying to be very polite to the people as they came and went. And pretty much as soon as we locked the door, the switch went off and I just lost it.
Heiner says he was joking, sort of, but he says he truly had it with the customers and his manager.
bottled it up all day, and finally my glass jar just shattered, and out it came. You know, and I don't regret it for a second.
Heiner says that on-camera meltdown was nothing compared to what came soon after, when the boss wanted to write him up for slow sales.
I said, I'm not signing this, and I've had enough of your company, and if you, at the end of the day, are gonna fire me, I'm just gonna quit and save myself the trouble. And I just built up with anger, and I was just ripped straight open. I pretty much just ripped my shirt in half. I was like, I'm done with your company. I ripped it straight down the middle, just boom. And I said, this is what I think of you guys. Took it off. I said, you can take your job, shove it, threw it in his face, walked right out the door.
And when it comes to some delivery men who are supposed to bring things to your door, everything is airmail. A delivery worker venting on YouTube that stress can lead to this kind of destruction.
Eventually, I had to become that person. I had to become the person to just completely destroy stuff.
Destruction and drama. It happens as easily in the boardroom as it does in the break room. Take it from one of the stars of the business reality show Shark Tank, billionaire Mark Cuban.
I had a partner who was the exact opposite of me, which worked well 99% of the time. But there were times when we'd have closed the door behind us sometimes and just have knockdown, drag out, screaming matches because we disagreed about how to do business.
But why is it that grown adults can act like children in the office?
A workplace is a powerful social situation, so we come to react to each other as if we were pseudo-siblings, as if our boss was a pseudo-parent. The workplace can be a big happy family, or the workplace can be a big dysfunctional family.
When your office is a classroom, it's inevitable that your colleagues are going to act like children, but sometimes it is the grown-up in the room with issues. Modesto High, California. The class, Algebra 2. The problem, anger management. And the bad behavior isn't limited to all these videos on YouTube. According to one survey, 42% of people are exposed to yelling and verbal abuse on the job. 29% admit abusing their coworkers, and 10% say they've actually been exposed to physical violence.
Look like somebody that sliced your face up.
Anger on the job can sneak up on you. One day, whammo. Like getting hit by a bus, or in this case, getting hit on the bus. This video cost a Cleveland bus driver his job. You'll see why.
You wanna be a man? I'm gonna treat you like a man.
The woman is okay, but that driver, he is so fired. But what will go down in history as the most classic I quit belongs to Steven Slater.
Last time we spoke, you had just pulled the emergency chute, grabbed a few beers, and dropped the F-bomb on the intercom.
Fed up after 20 years as a flight attendant,
I just kind of went with it.
parachuting into instant fame when he said, basically, take this job and shove it.
This was a dramatic exit.
You know, who hasn't been overworked and underpaid? Who hasn't been outsourced? Who isn't stressed? It was very resonant of where we are as a culture and a country in that moment. That's still are.
If you want to keep an eye on whether things are likely to improve, all you have to do is watch the unemployment rate.
With the economy in the state that it's in, and jobs as scarce as they are, that's got to increase stress,
Absolutely.
as well as bad behavior.
When they feel economically dependent on their job, they're likely to be more rigid, more political, more regressed, more emotional.
If you had more people saying, hey, I think you're doing a swell job, I think you're doing a great job, you wouldn't have these people freaking out like me.
The former game store clerk, Dave Heiner, says those workplace tantrums are nothing less than a desperate cry for dignity. An angry anthem for the underpaid, underappreciated worker. And he says more people should try it.
I say just let it out. Tell them how you truly feel.
Here's common sense for you. You want to let it out? Go outside. Don't do it in front of the customers. Don't videotape it, post it on social media. You want to feel how you truly feel? Just let it all out. Let it all out. Ain't no screaming match. Next, the question on everyone's minds is it okay to have sex in a building? Is there sex in the office? What about office romances? After you clock out, what goes on after the clothes come off. Amy Robach with Coworkers with Benefits. Please stay with us. All right, we are now switching gears from angry employees to even the most obvious question. To even some questions. Is the office romance in the office? And is it okay to have sex in an office building when nobody's watching, especially those security cameras? You're about to see some security camera footage of employees having sex. And it may get you wondering, why didn't they turn off those cameras? Here's Amy Robach.
Another workday begins at TerraCycle in Trenton, New Jersey. The staff, mostly young and attractive, is committed to the main business here, innovative recycling. But then there's the side business.
Is there sex in the office?
Not right now.
At TerraCycle, business and pleasure absolutely mix.
Do you see open flirting, like just like on a day-to-day basis?
Everyone's friendly.
Friendly and over-friendly?
You could get a little bit of both. It would be hard to tell where exactly the line is.
I mean, I wouldn't care if I, touched, hugged anyone at any time. There's no boundaries, really.
No boundaries for sure. There's so much inter-office action, this place needs a hookup flowchart. Just recently, someone on the executive team dated someone in the graphics department. Another person dated someone in accounts management. Meantime, another accounts person dated someone in graphics. Yet a third person dated the office manager. Meantime, someone in product design was dating an intern.
It's obvious. Sex at work, or the romance at work happens.
TerraCycle founder and CEO Tom Zaki has one golden rule on office trysts.
You can hook up with each other if you want.
Be respectful of others, but there are no written guidelines.
You just can't create policies for these things.
When he started TerraCycle out of his dorm room 10 years ago, there were wild parties at the so-called intern house. It led to 2 known pregnancies. Check out the body painting. Today, as the company has matured, things may be somewhat tamer, but legends still abound. It's well known that this conference table has supported a lot more than fourth quarter estimates.
Stacey, you were talking earlier about your friend.
Someone I know had sex in the office.
Someone you know really well.
Somebody I know kind of well.
What did your friend say it was like? Was there something extra fun about it?
It was just kind of an opportunity that arose, and
Excuse the pun.
Being the passionate person that she is,
my friend took advantage of it.
Is it okay to have sex in the building?
That's a great question. Is it okay to have sex in the building? Well,
Seriously, Zaki says sex during business hours would be a no-no, which may be why no one has ever been caught on this office security camera. But we found countless examples online of offices where couples supposedly were. Security cam sex, people on the move, on the job.
You really want this position, don't you?
Sex at work is such a fantasy, there are plenty of porn sites devoted to it. But workplace romance need not be sordid, it can be sweet. And maybe nowhere does it fly higher than at Southwest Airlines. They don't call themselves the Love Airline for nothing. There are more than 1,200 married couples who both work here. Their pictures hang proudly in the company's Dallas headquarters.
We are a love couple.
One is Colleen and Kevin Russell. She's in finance, he's in cargo. Together, they're in love.
I did something I've never done before. I asked him out over an email. And I sat at my desk holding my hand over the mouse, just thinking, can I do this? Can I do this? Is this okay?
It was more than okay. 8 months later, they were married. Southwest is totally supportive of the love couples as long as the pair work in different departments and neither manages the other.
Thankfully, we're at a company where it is okay to fall in love with who you fall in love with.
But whether it's for a long time or just a good time, there are rules for office romance.
If your career is important to you at that organization, then you have to think about how that might be impacted.
Caitlin Friedman has written several guidebooks for women in the workplace. Her top 3 do's and don'ts. Number 1, do take it seriously. Workplace romance can have consequences for your reputation.
it makes people uncomfortable. Even if they say they're okay with it, they're not.
So number 2, don't have public displays of affection.
Trust me, nobody wants to see it.
Friedman says keeping the relationship quiet just makes you more professional, which leads to number 3, don't travel for business together. It can lead to troubling questions.
Was this really business? Was this pleasure?
You just don't want to go there.
And that's all when the relationship is going well. 50% of marriages don't last, and dating couples split way more than that. And if life in Cubeland sitting beside a bitter ex isn't bad enough, that's nothing compared to a sexual harassment suit. Just ask Dov Charney, the CEO of clothing giant American Apparel and a notorious workplace Lothario.
You've had relations with some of the people you work with.
Look, isn't that inappropriate? Well, 57% of Americans meet their spouse at work, and it's perfectly normal and natural that love can take place within the context of the workplace.
Charney sounds a bit like an older version of TerraCycle's Tom Zaki. The difference is he's rich enough for people to try to sue his pants off. This past spring, Charney was interviewed on Nightline after one of several lawsuits against him was settled out of court. Other cases are pending, though no allegations have been proven in court.
All of those accusations are baseless and meritless. And what has happened, high-profile people such as myself are often in the firing line of that kind of stuff.
There are 14,000 sex harassment suits filed annually in the U.S. And in fact, back at TerraCycle, Tom Zaki says he's already been named in one of them. On top of that, he says he was once harassed himself by a customer who wanted more than his business.
I've experienced all aspects of this personally.
But overall, he remains optimistic. He's seen many more good romances than bad, and still thinks when Cupid visits TerraCycle, it's good for everyone.
Happy employees mean a better work product, basically, at the end?
I think happy employees equal higher profitability. And isn't that what every CEO is in the business of?
And that's what it could be. And it even could be. So here's the bottom line here. If you're going to hook up with office romance, there's policies that get to follow. But sexual harassment is a very big issue. So be careful and realize those do's and don'ts. Fired for wearing the wrong tie. And even fired for going Gangnam Style. Did you work for a boss hole? What is a boss hole? Cecilia Vega with that boss hole when we return. And later on, the latest on that, more of the latest on the Georgia school shooting. Please stay with us. You're fired. Those two words are often the words we don't want to hear. But did you work for a horrible boss growing up? What if you got fired for wearing the wrong tie? What if you got fired for using a pool to go Gangnam Style? What if you were fired because you took too many maternity leaves? Get in line because you've met the boss hole. What is the boss hole? You're gonna hear some examples of people getting fired because of one movie. Actually, it's not real life, but it is real life, and it comes from the movie Boss Hole. And as we're about to show you, it can happen in real life, like in the movies. Here's Cecilia Vega.
Biggest mistake many entrepreneurs make is that they try to do too much too soon, and it kills them.
He is the star of Shark Tank and the billionaire owner of the Dallas Mavericks. On TV, Mark Cuban comes across as a tough guy boss with a volcanic temper.
Come on, Joey, get your crew together!
But in real life, when it comes to firing a worker, Cuban hates it. He says he's actually a pussycat with the pink slips.
I'm actually a big baby when it comes to firing people.
You'd rather be fired or do the firing?
Well, I'd rather, be the one getting fired than doing the firing.
You take firing someone personally?
Yeah, absolutely. I was the one who hired him, so it's my mistake.
If only all bosses were as sympathetic as Cuban. Instead, we found case after case of workers like this. A Chicago car salesman canned after wearing a Green Bay Packers tie to work to celebrate his team crushing the Bears in the NFL playoffs. The bosses weren't in the celebrating mood. They thought that green and yellow tie would be bad for business.
He said, forget about it. Just get out the showroom floor. You're fired. And I couldn't believe it. I was crying.
Yes, holding on to your job these days can be like negotiating a treacherous minefield. Perhaps the most important pitfall to watch out for is a certain type of employer known by a colorful colloquialism.
A bosshole is somebody who goes above and beyond to be cruel, sadistic, obnoxious of his or her staff.
Yes, horrible bosses, like the one shown in the movie.
You can fire Professor Xavier.
You mean Hank?
Yeah, creeps me out, rolling around all day in his special little secret chair.
Debbie Stevens claims her boss at the car dealership where she worked fits that profile perfectly. She donated a kidney to help her boss stay alive. Before Stevens went under the knife, Debbie's boss, Jackie Bruscia, even sent an email saying, "Thanks, more than I can ever say." But Stevens says soon after, the boss turned on her.
She just went over and above the hostile boss scenario.
While she was home recovering, Stevens says Bruscia delivered an unexpected kidney punch, demanding she get back to work.
And I would let her, know that I was uncomfortable, I was still in pain.
Did you get any sympathy?
No, I didn't. It seemed to aggravate her. It was very upsetting. It devastated me, actually.
Stevens complained to HR, and then she says she was transferred to what she calls a dead-end job and ultimately fired by the company. She's taking her case to court. For the boss and the company, the firing had nothing to do with the kidney. They say they did nothing wrong.
Her boss treated her as a boss should. There was an employee there that was being unproductive and disrupting the other employees, and she was eventually terminated because of that.
Still, Mark Cuban's calling a foul.
You go down there and you say, okay, take all the time off you need to recover, because you just helped save someone's life. You don't second guess that.
But even if your boss has a big heart, there are plenty of other ways to get canned in corporate America. Just try violating any of those countless company rules and policies. You've probably seen these now famous lifeguards from El Monte, California.
Oppan Gangnam Style.
This summer, they made their own video spoof of the monster Korean pop hit Gangnam Style. It became an internet sensation, getting over 2 million hits on YouTube.
It was just pure fun. It was just a way for us to finish off the summer.
But the lifeguards had forgotten about those pesky rules, and they apparently violated a policy about using city facilities without permission. All 13 of them were fired.
They pretty much said they saw the video. It was embarrassing, disgusting, and they asked me to turn in my keys and said your services will no longer be needed.
You guys think that video is embarrassing and disgusting?
Not at all.
Not at all. If we thought that, we wouldn't have even done it.
Would you fire someone like that?
No, of course not, but that's called CYA. If you create an environment where there's absolutely zero discretion, that's the problem you're going to have.
The firing sparked such a huge backlash that even Psy, the Korean pop star who created the Gangnam Style sensation, came to their defense.
I'm begging you to do not fire, please.
It looks like going public worked in this case. Feeling the heat, the city council recently voted to give the lifeguards their jobs back. So they're now dancing with joy. Here's another hidden trap that can get you fired: your past. Apparently, there's no statute of limitations on past indiscretions. Take 37-year-old Tiffany Webb. She made headlines in New York when she was fired after a 12-year career as a high school guidance counselor. Her undoing? 20-year-old photos that showed up on the internet of her modeling lingerie and bikinis. But Tiffany has nothing on 58-year-old Yolanda Quesada of Milwaukee. Wells Fargo Bank lowered the boom on her when they discovered something that happened decades ago. A shoplifting incident involving Yolanda when she was just, get this, 18 years old.
They said you're fired. You were let go for something you did not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 decades before that.
Yes.
The firing devastated Yolanda, who was proud of her years of excellent service as a Wells Fargo customer service rep.
This is not a Slackers banner you're holding up here.
No. I was very good. And I like my job.
Wells Fargo says it was just following the law, but Yolanda is now suing the bank.
What do you want to say to your bosses?
That I want my job back. This is not the way to do this. You know, I've changed my life. I worked for them for 5 years. And I gave good service, the best service.
For Mark Cuban, stories like Yolanda's are exactly why he thinks bosses should think twice before showing a worker the door.
What do you hate so much about firing people?
Because I know you potentially are really hurting someone's life. And if I fired you, I failed as much as you have, probably more.
Next.
I failed as much as you have, probably more.
Like when you fire somebody, you're probably failing at something. These examples are cases of lawsuits. So if you qualify, if you were fired for these things, take it to court. And maybe then you'll win higher amounts of summary. Yeah, in tonight's Viral Break, we're going to introduce you to Christian, who made skits about someone being fired. And it was on Instagram. That's a bit later. You have that feeling inside you. Would you reply to all emails after you click reply all? Coming up, an inspiration that led to a commercial, a Super Bowl commercial. Don't go away. Welcome back. How many times has it happened to you? You're trying to send an email to somebody you love, and you accidentally press or hit that reply all button. Has it ever happened to you? Well, meet a man who clicked that reply all button. That you're about to meet this man who says he hit that reply all button, and not just that, it was an inspiration for a Super Bowl commercial. A Super Bowl commercial that's just really out of this world. Here's Chris Conley.
All of them.
This tire commercial that ran during the Super Bowl in 2010 probably made you smile. It made ad man Bill Cochran's career.
It was huge. To have something on the biggest stage for advertising, it meant the world to me. I could try to be cool about it, but I wasn't. I completely lost my mind.
The spot was called A Whale of a Tale. And now, Cochran has one of his own to tell. It began late in 2010, when Bill and his colleagues were asked to dream up another Super Bowl ad. Bill's boss sent out a mass email to 100 or so creatives, spelling out teams that would compete to come up with that one killer idea, like these ads.
On something as juicy as a Super Bowl spot, it gets a little more cutthroat around here. I just saw that list and I was like, okay, we got to get fired up.
This ex-athlete got fired up by putting others down. Writing to his creative partner, Cochran savaged many of their rivals for the gig, his office colleagues, all in ruthless, R-rated language.
There are words you might say in a locker room about another team, and there are words you might say at a press conference. I used locker room words in this email.
What kind of words are we talking about?
I think I said, I'm sick of their, so to speak.
Kick their ass?
Oh, yeah. That sounds like something I would say. This wasn't the most thought out email I've ever written in my life.
When you clicked it, did you have any idea that you had done something wrong?
No idea at all. I felt great.
That feeling lasted until his colleague Wendy Mays called to tell him.
I said, oh God, Bill, you sent that to all. You replied to all.
Within moments, there was sort of, you could hear some cackles and prairie dogs and people popping up.
Two buttons, so close to each other, and Cochran had hit reply all.
I just felt like the blood just drifted completely, just came out of my body. Is there something I can do? Is there a way I can I recall this email? Can I get it back?
No, actually.
There was sort of this look between the creatives, like,
and another email started to show up. Bing, bing, bing.
A lot of people started replying to all, back to his reply all, saying, you're an idiot.
The most memorable and the most succinct was just a one-word email that said, moron. I did another reply all that said something to the effect of, oops.
You know, in the history of mistakes, oops has tended to not be a very useful word.
Cochran was thinking about other words, like bye-bye.
And I have just undone what I think is a perfectly good career in one blank.
He'd have company, like this scene in the newsroom when a producer sends an intimate email to her boss and hits reply all.
What just happened?
I got a staff email from you.
Me too. I sent the email to Will. Oh.
Or the Cornell lovers, whose intimate emails about their extramarital fling, describing spanking, licking, and tickling, were read by their colleagues. The intern at the top legal firm, who accidentally shared with bigwigs that he was doing jack at work. The $300,000 a year UK exec, sacked when he publicly disparaged a job seeker for being too stupid to get a job. Cochran figured he'd be a job seeker himself in a few hours.
I'm gonna get fired for this. I'm gonna lose my job. I'm gonna have to move. I'm gonna have to start over. I have undone all of this in one stupid click.
I think he said something to the effect of, it's been nice knowing you guys. I'm going to go ahead and pack up my cubicle now.
At some places, a guy who did something like that would have been fired.
No, not here. I just don't think anybody comes running to me and says, you should know about the dumb thing that Bill Cochran did. That just never happens here.
Instead, Cochran started doing a smart thing, apologizing.
It starts with I'm sorry, and then there's several other I'm sorries throughout, and then it probably ends with a sorry.
And he came up with a new concept for that year's Super Bowl spot.
Oh no. Rod, you hit reply all.
A spot called Reply All. And to his amazement,
You know I was wrong. You just sent this email to me. Could you imagine?
the client bought it, and it appeared on the Super Bowl earlier last year.
I mean, lemons into lemonade. My gosh.
Yeah.
Yet even amid this happy ending, Bill Cochran has learned his lesson.
When do you say what's really on your mind?
Just in person.
In person, but not via email. Don't reply all. If you don't reply all, you'll have some. You'll know common sense is right. Coming up next, did you ever want to did you ever dream about going to work in a kayak, or even by plane, or even when you're in a traffic jam and you want to scream at the top of your lungs, like, "Get the fuck out of my way, bro!" The commute from hell. Dan Harris, for the guy who took a kayak to work for 15 hours. You don't want to miss this. Please stay with us. How do you get to work? Maybe you would take a car. You would call a Lyft. You'd even have your parents come and take you to work, because you can't drive. Maybe you would take a bus. But how would you feel about going dog sledding to work, or taking going skiing to go to work, or even going kayaking to work? You're about to meet this guy who would take a kayak to work for 15 hours via a kayak. And even then, it would make you think twice about the relaxing day, which is part of your life. The rest of your day must probably suck if you decide to take that 15-hour commute from hell. And even some videos you're about to see could even make you laugh with a foam gun. Here's Dan Harris.
If you were handing out the prize for weirdest and wettest commute, Zach Schwitzky would have to get serious consideration.
Probably the most relaxing part of my day.
This is the most relaxing part of your day? The rest of your day must suck. Zach commutes by kayak. paddling from Hoboken, New Jersey, across the Hudson River to Manhattan. This is about 75,000 times harder than my commute. I went along with him one morning.
Did you see yourself doing it?
Let me just put this diplomatically. No. Which, as you will see in a moment, turned into a rather humbling experience. You ever get halfway across and think, I would much rather be in a cab right now?
Some days.
Before I show you my waterborne Waterloo, consider this visual evidence that Zach is not alone in the holy crap that's a bizarre commute category. We found video of an Alaskan gold miner who gets to work by dog sled. A woman in Florida who has to survive this dirt road in order to get afloat across a river. Even a zip line across a deep jungle valley in Colombia. As seen in the documentary Education in Faraway Places, the producers had hoped the film would convince the government to install a cable car, which didn't happen. And then in San Francisco, there's James Walbridge, an architect and an extreme example of a new breed known as the super commuter. Walbridge flies to work.
Commuting on a plane doesn't make any sense. It's not efficient, it's not cost effective, it's what I do.
His commute begins in beautiful bucolic Nebraska. His wife Sarah and her son Matthew live in Lincoln. For family and medical reasons, they can't go to California, and James can't move to Nebraska full time. Thus, a 1,600-mile plane trip in one direction or another pretty much every week.
You could say it's a commute from hell. That's what happens when you meet a good Midwest girl and you fall in love with her and you marry her.
Back on the river with Zach Schwitzky, and things are not going well for me. There's Zach paddling along, and that tiny little dot back there in the distance, that's me. Ultimately, they had to tow me in. All right, this is how a real kayaker does it. In my defense, I want to say that even Zach admitted that on this day there was a current that was particularly fierce. While I actually did enjoy my little maritime meltdown, for most of us,
what the is this guy doing, mother?
the daily forced march of a commute can take a genuine toll.
Going 2 miles per hour on the highway.
You can see it all over the internet.
Day after day of the same old.
Like this guy blowing off steam with a virtual drive-by.
Cut me off!
While the average commute is only 25 minutes,
Oh boy, here we go.
TV producer Walter Kraft drives roughly 175 miles from Massachusetts to New York 3 to 5 times a week. That's roughly 3.5 hours each way, all to support his 2 children. I find driving very stressful. Do you find that the time in the car can be stressful for you?
Of course it's stressful and I can feel stress.
And that stress can be truly toxic. Researchers have found commuting can lead to everything from high blood pressure to heart problems, from getting fat to getting divorced. Riding with Walter, it is clear he is feeling the pain. You worry that this is impacting your health?
I know it is. It has to be. I always say that I would die for my kids. Sorry, I get emotional. It's like I am dying for my kids. And I would do it again.
You love your kids a lot.
Oh, nothing else.
Experts say if your commute is killing you, your options are to move closer to your office, try to convince your boss to let you work flexible hours, or find a new mode of transportation. Obviously, kayaking is not going to work for everybody. Especially once you learn that even when you get to the other side, alright, let's do this, you still have to drag the thing all the way to the office.
It's funny to see people's reactions when you're dragging a 15-foot boat through the streets of Manhattan.
Zach freely acknowledges his way is not for everybody, but he is a role model of sorts. Given that commuting is such a major part of our daily lives, your health and your sanity may depend on finding something that really does work for you. We here?
We made it.
Nice. That said, I, for one, do not recommend kayaking.
That completes the most ridiculous commute of my life.
I don't recommend you kayak, but if you want to kayak, go right ahead. Find your own means of transportation to work, and even then, you may be successful being the best employee ever. Hey, have a plan A and a plan B put in place, and even then, you too could have a transportation plan that you may like. All right. Do you know the secrets from the HR office? And even then, those secrets that the HR finds can even get you fired. Deborah Roberts will tell you those secrets when we come back. Stay with us. Do you know in your heart that you want to meet the HR office? What if you want to know the secrets to the HR office? Tonight we're going to tell you those secrets that you may not have heard, and those secrets that are between hiring and firing, and those secrets that they find can get you fired. Here's Deborah Roberts.
So why don't you describe yourself, Mr. Dupree?
Not a workhorse. If you're looking for a Clydesdale, I'm probably not your man. Incidentally, what's your policy on Columbus Day?
We work.
Really? Between you, me, and Dupree, most of us know the wrong things to say in a job interview.
My resume.
But in her book, Corporate Confidential, former company hatchet woman Cynthia Shapiro reveals that what you don't know could not only prevent you from getting hired, but could get you fired.
You are essentially giving all those dirty little secrets that HR does not want us to know.
They're definitely dirty. They're not always so little.
And they can be sneaky. If you see family photos on the interviewer's desk and start bonding over having kids, you may have fallen into a secret trap.
There's an HR director that I know, and when you come in for the interview, she's got a picture of 2 adorable little kids that are facing you in the interview. She doesn't have kids.
This is a trick.
What she has is an edict from upper management to not hire moms.
So if you start talking about your children, she knows right away to strike you off the list.
Exactly right.
That's terrible.
And you'll never know.
And there's even a secret backup plan that might keep moms from getting hired. The "let me walk you back to your car" trick.
They're looking to see if you have a baby seat in the back.
Aha, so they come
Which
over here and
these people do.
And that could cost you the job.
That will cost you the job.
But even if you land the job, Shapiro says prepare for a game of survival where only your boss knows the rules. Violate them and you may end up on the dreaded top secret layoff list.
There really are layoff lists?
Yes, there are secret. Yes, there are secret layoff lists.
She confesses that all kinds of things can get you on the layoff list, including, get this, your vacation plans.
Vacation? Want vacation time? Go teach 3rd grade public school.
But if you don't work in a boiler room like the guys in this film, and you actually get 2 weeks of vacation, Shapiro says no one tells you that you probably shouldn't take them all at once.
Companies move too fast. They'll find a way around you in 2 or 3 weeks, and they'll realize they can do without you, and they will.
And watch out for those Mai Tais and margaritas on your not longer than 1 week vacation.
Oh yeah, we gotta trim some of the fat around here.
Trim the... What do you mean by trim the fat?
Why don't you fire the fat people?
Like in the movie, there are horrible bosses, Shapiro says, who'll put you on that layoff list simply for how you look, especially if you're looking too old.
Only executives get to have gray hair. It's not fair, but that's how it goes.
You want to look good, but not too good. Deborah Lee Lorenzano claims she was fired by Citibank because they thought her sexy looks were too distracting, even though she wore business clothes.
The worst feeling was knowing that HR was not there to help me, but to help Citibank.
Citibank insists Lorenzano was let go for poor job performance.
We're going to need to go ahead and move you downstairs into storage B. We have some new people coming in.
If your office space changes for the worst, like in this film, maybe you're being managed out. A clever way companies get rid of unwanted employees, along with dead-end projects. It's all about building a paper trail, proving you're a poor worker.
The HR people are going to kill me for disclosing this on TV. But they will create documentation that makes the employee look like they're not doing their job.
They fake documentation?
They create it. It's all how you look at it, right?
Shapiro says she was fed up with all that deception, so she quit her high-paying HR job and became a whistleblower. Today, she's on the other side of the fence.
Is there an area the company is guiding you towards?
Using her insider knowledge to counsel workers on getting ahead in the workplace. As for her best tip for staying off that company blacklist, even if your boss is like a devil wearing Prada, stay on her good side.
All right, everyone, gird your loins.
The people who are so positive about their job and say great things and openly support the company, they're the ones who are kept on usually, even if they are not the ones with the best skills and talent.
But those are called the brown nosers and the suck-ups. They're the ones who are safe?
Yeah, those are the ones who are safe.
And that's our program for tonight.
Yeah, those are the ones who are safe.
And they may be safe for you and probably not safe for me. So if you're being on the boss's good side, and even then, you too could even not be fired by HR. When we come back, more about the Georgia school shooting and tonight's Bible break. Stay with us. Now back to the latest on that Georgia school shooting. It has been a week since that incident. It has been almost a week since that incident in Georgia, to where the 14-year-old suspected of murder. Now it turns out the father is now arrested for involuntary manslaughter, but the mother is now arrested, and she could face the same charges as the mom, as the father. Now remember, this is very, like I said earlier in the broadcast, it is very similar to Oxford, where James and Jennifer Crumley were both charged with involuntary manslaughter, and they both received separate sentences. But they wouldn't send Ethan Crumley to juvenile because of his age, because both of them were charged as adults. Let's take a look.
So fill our hearts with love tonight, Lord.
This northern Georgia community still huddles together, mourning the deaths of 2 students and 2 teachers killed last week by 14-year-old student Colt Gray. CBS News has learned the suspect's aunt says the teen's mother called the school a half hour before the shooting. She warned staff of an extreme emergency involving her son and urged a school counselor to immediately find him and check on him.
Marcy got a text on the phone from Colt saying, "I'm sorry, Mother." And then we heard on the news of the shooting.
We spoke to the alleged gunman's maternal grandfather.
He pulled the triggers. He killed people, and he's my grandson, and it breaks my damn heart.
He says his wife, the teen's grandmother, also visited the school the day before the massacre. She wanted to discuss the suspect's alleged behavioral issues. The 14-year-old has been charged as an adult and faces 4 counts of felony murder. His father is also charged for giving his son access to the AR-style rifle used in the shooting. Both Gray's father and son have not entered a plea. Shayna Jones's daughter is a senior at Appalachia High School.
As a parent, we can't do much because we weren't there, we weren't in their shoes. Seeing as many of the kids here makes me realize that they're gonna come back. They're resilient.
You can see in those videos this community is very much still grieving. And unbelievably, since Wednesday's shooting, there have been a series of threats against schools in Georgia. At least a dozen kids and 1 adult arrested for making those threats. Nate?
Mark, thank you.
I think we need to raise the common sense. Why? Because nobody understands. If you think you're going to post a threat, fake or real, I can promise you, you're not only going to get out of school, but you're going to jail. It's taken very seriously. You make a school threat, you're going to jail. This how happened almost 3 years ago. Almost 3 years ago in Oxford, after the Oxford shooting, there were dozens of school threats that have happened. And TikTok was involved, and since then they shut down these school threat challenges because of what's going on. So what does that tell you, boys and girls? Don't be making any threats, because if you think you're going to post a threat, again, you're going to jail. Parents, talk to your children about these types of issues. Don't have your child go on social media at a certain age. I get it. They want to connect with their friends and all. I understand. But the thing we have to know here is this. You choose the behavior, you choose the consequences. That's exactly what happens in the real world. You can't be doing that in your community. Because stuff like that can get you in trouble, and especially at your job. Your job finds out you were in jail because you made a school threat. Then it's what can happen to you. Alright. Alright, we're going to show you now. Alright, here's our first file break of the season. And it's just all about firing people. I think I can find it here. Here it is. Several parts. Take a look at this.
Yeah, I'm here for an online pickup. What are you doing? I need you in the back to help unload a pallet. I'm helping a customer. Hi, are you being well taken care of? Yeah, excellent. What's your last name? Maldonado?
You know we get a shipment every Thursday. I don't know why you're acting like this is your first day on the job.
I'll be right back. I'll be there as soon as I'm helping the customer. Here's your order. Thank you. Are you alright?
And this is Ray Carl's Corporate.
Hey, there's a manager in your store number 1738 that is harassing an employee. Why are you so slow? Hurry up and get to the back. His name is actually Frank. I'm sorry, what's going on? He's talking to corporate. How? He doesn't even have corporate's number. I gave it to him. Do you need to speak to the associate? I think there's been a misunderstanding. Alex, tell them everything is fine. Hey, Frank wants me to lie and say everything's fine, but he talks down on me and several other employees, and he makes us skip our breaks and lunches sometimes. Okay. You're definitely getting fired. Not if you get fired first. Frank, what are you doing? About to fire Alex for lying.
I don't know if I can find it. There you go.
That's it. You're fired. I'm sorry. I'll tell corporate I was lying. Too late. I'm going to start your termination paperwork. He's about to break the law. What? Firing you for reporting harassment is retaliation. That's illegal. You could probably sue. Huh. Hey, Alex, are you the one that made the report earlier? Hey, yeah, but I think I'm good. I'm about to get fired. I'm sorry, what? Yeah, Frank's about to fire me, but it's okay, because then I can sue, so hopefully I can get some money. Okay, so I'm actually on my way to fire Frank, so we can avoid anything like that. No, it's okay. Let Frankie do his thing. I'm trying to buy a new car and get out of my hoopty. Frank! Hey, there's a man.
There we go.
Frank, what are you doing? About to fire Alex for lying. You yelled at him in front of a customer. I was just telling him to do his job. First of all, you can't fire him because that would be retaliation. Second, harassment prevention training. How was I supposed to know Alex would know his workers' rights? Go out there and apologize, and then we'll see about transferring you to a different store. Hey, Alex, I apologize. That not good enough for you? I'm sorry, I'm actually a lawyer and I advised Alex not to speak. We do not need a lawsuit. Frank, you're fired. No, my new car. I was gonna name her Daisy. Frank, what are you doing? I said, I had a right to sue letter and everything. You had already filed an administrative charge with the EEOC? Yeah, right after I filed a harassment complaint with corporate and they didn't do anything. So the company knew when they failed to take action. Yeah, the only thing they did was started cutting my hours and started switching my schedule last minute. Those are examples of retaliation too. Alex, you're about to get paid. So I will be driving Miss Daisy? Yeah, you went through all the right steps. We'll be able to sue Frank and the company. If he's still gonna sue, does that mean I can get my job back? No, Frank!
It's part 6.
How much are employment lawsuits usually worth? Average is about $40,000, but 10% of cases result in $1 million settlement. Is it true you fired Alex immediately after he reported you for harassment? I plead the fifth. Your Honor, I have a recording, if I may. Proceed.
You're definitely getting fired. Not if you get fired first. That's it. You're fired. I'm sorry.
Frank also constantly changed my schedule to conflict with my family responsibilities and threatened to report my immigration status. I did not do that constantly. I only did that like 20 times. Judgments for the plaintiff for the amount of $100,000. Court is adjourned. Congratulations. That means you can finally get Daisy. How much are
Daisy? Yay! That cannot happen in real life, but if it did happen in real life, it wouldn't be on YouTube. It wouldn't be on this broadcast. Well, anyway, we got a good week for you. It's premiere week on this broadcast, and I got some very good surprises for you. We still got some common sense. We're still going to talk about the school-related issues, and hey, who knows? We might have a special guest co-anchor. Taylor Hollanese, if she wants to join us for a special guest co-anchor, and we possibly could have Becky Bakes come on if she plays her cards right. I'm just messing with I'm just kidding. If that happens, so we'll let you know what happens. But here's some stuff that I got working on for you this week.
Season 8 is going to start with the premiere week you do. Season 8 is going to start with the premiere week you do not want to miss. First on Monday, Workplace Confidential. People don't regret freaking out at work, but they've had it up to here. These employees on videotape have had it up to here. You're going to see videotape footage that might even make you a rageaholic. From Workers Gone Wild to even office romances to even boss holes. Yeah, that's right, you heard me. We're going to show you some things that you cannot do while you're at work, especially no reply emails. You're calling all emails, reply to all. That's basically how it is. And even the commute from hell. And if you're had up here for work that day, well, let me tell you, this is the season, this is the first episode of the season that you don't want to miss. That's on Monday. Then on Wednesday, a story about home daycare operators, even the unlicensed ones, who have been caught by the state for basically having too many children. But even the state says it has a limited number. Also, then a story about train tracks. Brian Ross has an investigation into the train tracks. Also on Wednesday, the story all about, and I do mean all about, the wealthy tax avoidance. And even how you can avoid paying taxes. Actually, we're actually going to show you some people that say you can't avoid paying taxes, even though the law says you must. That's Wednesday. Then on Friday, do you have bad breath? Or are you afraid you might have bad breath? Is it your tongue or gum disease? Dr. Timothy Johnson is going to be coming at you long and hard with some hints and tips about what you can do to keep your tongue from having your tongue being the main cause of bad breath. And so that's it's gonna be
also come up on Friday. Forgot to mention this. There's also another thing coming up on Friday. A story that might even shock you and all the animals you love. Last season or two, we talked about puppy mills, but there's now even there's not even something new. We're gonna show you a deadly sport that is illegal in all 50 states. It's dog fighting. You're going to meet a person who served 10 years probation and was sentenced to jail time because of what he did. He bred these pit bulls to be fighters. You will also see videotape of what happens with all of these pit bulls fighting other dogs. It's a dog fighting must-see story that you'll see only on Friday. Now you're going to know where I stand this year, and let me tell you, it ain't going to be like last year. This is going to be better. Hardcore common sense. Issues that you have, issues and stories that you live with. Because you're giving me a break. We come at you long, hard, and strong. We come out better, we come out stronger, and we come at you hard with some issues, and even then, stories that can touch your heart and even have you understand the difference between being ripped off and some common sense. So, all this year, we're coming hard. We're coming long and hard, and we're going to be ready and coming at you from the time we begin to the time we end. Because even then, let me tell you, when the going gets tough, the tough get tough. And that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be coming at you tough. With common sense, and especially a story that you'll only see on this broadcast. A 5th grader gets arrested for basically assaulting a teacher. But the twist of the story is, the school violated a new law. What was that law? We will tell you. That's all for this edition of Give Me a Break Monday. I should say, the Season 8 premiere of Give Me a Break Monday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Wednesday. For everyone here at YouTube and Give Me a Break, stop bullying, speak up, concentration, not strength, no jaywalking. Your body, your choice. I don't even know why I was wearing a tie. I don't even know why I was wearing a tie at this point, because it's really to be honoring the season premiere of this broadcast, and it's really great to come back and after taking some time off to really start thinking about what we have for me coming up. So it's really great to have that happen. So good night, everyone.